Hey guys, welcome to a special edition of EduMatch. Speaking of EduMatch and follow along with us, you can either back channel on Twitter or on the YouTube live page. So we have with us a special guest today, Elana Leoni, and I'm gonna tell y'all a little bit about her. So Elana is passionate about improving education, has spent the last 15 years in the CSR and K-12 education space, leading online marketing teams. She has a track record of creating successful social media marketing and content marketing strategies that exponentially increase an organization's reach, engagement, and conversions while building an authentic community. Ooh. She is a founder and head strategist at Leoni Consulting Group, LLC, and was formerly Edutopia's Director of Social Media Strategy and Marketing. She's an EdCamp organizer and supporter, and loves to collaborate with educators that are helping to reform education from the bottom up. So welcome, Elana. So great to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, the pleasure is definitely ours. So very excited to jump in and learn with you tonight. Like you have just done so much that has just inspired me and inspired so many educators around the world. So just to ask, what is your background?
Yeah, you made me sound really official, so thank you to start off. My background is I've always just been a passionate person and I really care about helping people that are disadvantaged. And for me, my only way out, my only kind of light of excitement and inspiration has been through education. So I had a great teacher that kind of pulled me out, and I was down a bad path with no real role models. And I had a teacher that to this day I will never forget. I feel like when I get into education and I get to network with people like you and so many educators, like I get goosebumps because you're changing so many lives, just like my life was changed. So I went the official route. I went into the business school, graduated undergrad in business, and didn't know what to do, but knew I wanted to change the world. And luckily I went into what you call like corporate social responsibility. It's kind of a mouthful, but basically it's just helping corporations, donate effectively. Like if you're Deloitte, you want to make sure your donation dollars go into certain charities, but then you also want to donate your skills and your employees, and you don't want them just painting fences. You want them actually doing Deloitte work. So I worked with really passionate people in volunteerism and donations, and then that job randomly led me to Edutopia. Lots of the same skill sets. I felt like I was making a difference for 5 years doing that. And then I said, wow, education. I never thought of education. And then I just dove right in from that. And I spent 8 years at education, or 8 years at Edutopia. And when I was at Edutopia, we didn't really have a social media presence. I mean, Facebook and Twitter weren't really big. So I got to see that entire wave and got to connect with so many amazing educators.
That is awesome. And yeah, I remember those days and weren't too far behind us. So absolutely. So social media has just really sprung up in the past few years. And it's just been amazing to watch, the connections that have emerged. So so when you were with Edutopia, then what was your role and what did it entail?
When I was at Edutopia, it was what, 2007, 2008. I started just helping Edutopia's membership online. And so I don't know, a lot of people might in this podcast remember Edutopia and have the magazine, like big subscribers of the magazine that used to go to teachers' lounges. We had over 100,000 educators get it for free for a very long time. So I said, okay, let's try to make this a membership, and let's try to do webinars. Let's create a community around the products that we create. And so even if the community was like old school webinars at the time, and most of the time I just connected with educators via snail mail and email in 2008, but it was this hint of like, you could see this pulse of people just excited. And I would send out emails saying, join the movement to change education. And they're like, yes, we're with you. And like, I didn't have a plan for what we were going to do, but it was just this inspirational band of educators. So started with the membership, and then Edutopia shifted to an online model. So it was like, wow, what do we do? And I think when we teach education, we teach, how can we teach learners to be as agile as possible? And just embrace it and fail. So it was like, I didn't know social media. In fact, I had one guy at Edutopia who was on contract, Chris Walsh, if anyone knows him out there, great guy. He just played on Twitter right in front of me, and I shouted at him for like an hour or two. And it was just like, he was a magician. It was like magic what he was doing. And the first time you get on Twitter, you're like, how do you know these people? What are you doing? So I just learned from him. And then, my role evolved into a social media coordinator, to a social media marketing manager, to finally I was, leading the entire online strategy and having a team of community specialists and social media specialists and content marketers underneath me. Amazing ride.
Yeah, totally. That does sound like an amazing ride. So you spoke about the community that Edutopia has, and that you played a huge part in establishing. So what other kinds of resources does Edutopia provide to educators?
Edutopia is a online resource, and I know a lot of you probably listening know them, but just for a couple of you that don't, they're at edutopia.org. Really fantastic resource, 100% free. What people love about Edutopia is that they can really trust it. It's a source that's, no bias. It's like we truly just want to discover what works in education. And we want to cover things that can be adaptable in any situation around the country, around the world. I mean, it's amazing Edutopia's reach and what it can do. So they have free videos, they have free blog posts, they have a really robust community led by a great team of individuals. So the blog posts, the ebooks, everything they do, and now they're actually doing a lot of journalistic coverage in a series called Schools That Work. So lots of deep dives, everything. Is that your question? I get so carried away of like what Edutopia is.
Oh no, absolutely. Yeah. And I've been a huge fan for years, definitely seeing the work that's done there. Like it's just like you said, high quality, definitely trustable for lack of a better term, content.
Yeah.
So
What I also loved about them is that they really do care about what works even on a research level. So I don't know if a lot of people know this, but Edutopia has two divisions. So the umbrella is the George Lucas Educational Foundation. But one of the divisions is Edutopia, which is the arm which many people know and interact with, edutopia.org. And then the other arm is the research division. And so the research division is looking at the efficacy of project-based learning. So really, really exciting stuff. But where the magic comes together is how can you translate that really robust research and make it practical in a day-to-day educator's lives and make it digestible? It's like sometimes research is a little hard to swallow, and what are they truly saying, and how can I implement it? So that's where it gets really exciting too, with the cross with the research.
yeah, absolutely. I totally hear you on that. We had like a really good podcast episode at one point about like research and education, and just how just how the two interplay. So that's great that that Edutopia is such kind of helps to inform the community about the latest research. So that is
Yeah.
awesome.
And we also heard from some people too, and they were completely honest. They said, if your blogs or your resources do not have research attached to them, I cannot make change in education. I cannot forward it to my administrators. They will not take me seriously. And I can't get buy-in. So we took that to heart too. And I thought that was really a great, we found that even the blogs that weren't even as well written as sometimes that had footnotes were getting a lot more traction and getting a lot more implemented in schools and districts. So it was a learning for us too.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. All right. So, question for you regarding social media. So you are a power user of social media. Like you are just awesome at it. So what benefit do you see in connecting and building a PLN?
I mean, I think we were joking before this a little bit, Sarah, was that I feel a little old school, but I say that, we've been talking about the power of being a connected educator, you too, for a very, very long time. And I mean, when you see it and when you can experience it, it's like nothing other. It's like your whole world explodes. You're like, wow, I'm collaborating with somebody in Germany right now. It's a 24/7 virtual PLN. And I know Tom Whitby says it really well. He's like, you have a question? It is literally an on-demand professional network for you that truly cares about you. And I've been in a lot of different social media networks, whether there be marketing or tech or ad tech. And this is the most selfless network by far. And also the most intelligent, where like people are putting out thoughtful pieces and really asking for honest feedback. And people will go out of their way to help each other with nothing in response. Like, oh, I really hope they do this for me in the future. No, people just do it about this network. So, I mean, you could probably write the book on, you probably have written the book on how to create a professional learning network. But I mean, for me, it's like I started on a platform I felt most comfortable with and just did one at a time and said, well, what does this have to offer? And then as the years go on, the way you interact with the channel changes too. So I use Twitter very differently than I did 8 years ago, but it's always giving me different benefits in different ways. And it is very hard to kind of get into specifics, I think, of like how to form a PLN exactly. But I would say pick one platform, just one that you're like, wow, I wish I could try this. Or if you're already in a channel, go into another one. You're like, oh, I heard this Pinterest thing or Voxer. That sounds super crazy, but I'm just going to do it. Voxer for me was one of the hardest ones to get on because it was just so different. It's audio. It's kind of closed. So you have to know groups that are on there. And I remember it was ISTE 3 years ago. We were playing around with Voxer, and I was just like, okay, you're going to laugh. Just laugh at yourself. You're going to make mistakes. And you always have to go in just knowing that you're going to be that one making all the mistakes, like accidentally voxing people and things like that. So go in with a smile. This is a funny story, but once I taught a team of superintendents how to tweet, and one of the superintendents ended up getting hacked, her Twitter account, and she's like the biggest superintendent of superintendents, that kind of thing. And she just took it in stride. She, said, oh, got hacked, try again. And she's still on Twitter, and she's still like, she favorites a lot of my tweets still. Like, she's such a supporter, and I'm so proud of her. But many superintendents, if that happened to them, they would stop right away. So yeah, I think it's just, having a good attitude about it, be curious. It's all the stuff that we talk about with students too. It's like, stay curious, make mistakes, laugh at yourself, and then try, always use the platform to what you want to get out of it. And you never know what that is really until you really dive in. It's like going to an ed camp. You don't really know what you want to learn until you're in there and you're like, I had no idea. Does that help?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I mean that I couldn't agree more, like just taking it not so seriously, being able to laugh at yourself is very, very important. So I love that because I feel like sometimes people approach it like it's this serious thing, and it doesn't have to be, sometimes it can be, but it's good to be able to approach it with that open mind and being able to, just kind of dust it off and jump back in. So totally feel you on that.
Yeah, and there are really no experts in anything, especially when it comes to social media. And that's why I love talking to educators about just like, how do you use Twitter? How do you use Facebook? We all use these tools differently, and we can learn and just be open to it too. Because there's like when I get into the Bloggers Lounge and ISTE stuff, we just open up our laptops and we're like, hey, have you seen this new tool? Or I've learned this, like a Flipgrid. I didn't even know that thing existed, and that's super cool as a network. So yeah, just keep your mind open, but always guide it with you don't want to be on overload in terms of too many networks you're in. And I've seen educators get, too bogged down with too many networks, and then all of a sudden they just say no more, nothing. So just be aware of how much time you're spending and what do you consciously want to get out of it. And maybe make some goals too and revisit them, because you don't want to be at a point where, you're sacrificing family or other time as a result of the PLN. This should be helping you in ways and supporting you through those rough times, but it shouldn't be another thing you feel like you have to do.
Yeah, that makes total sense. Definitely, this is definitely a bonus add-on. I mean, it's indispensable to me, I feel like, but at the same time, you need to have that balance between, offline and online. So I totally feel you on that. So I've been reading a lot of Tim Ferriss lately, and he's been talking about like minimally effective dose, or I guess I've also heard a phrase, return on investment. So if you had to give one tip to educators in terms of maximizing their use of social media, what do you think would give them the most return on their investment?
Oh, that's hard. That's like, what's the one silver bullet for education? Go. um, I think to maximize your use of social media, the best thing you can do is just follow smart, like-minded and different-minded people than you. So like if you're thinking about Twitter, make sure you're following maybe just a couple of big lists. You don't even need to follow all of them just to start, but if you're exposed to that collective knowledge, that's huge ROI, and you're not even doing anything. You know, you're not tweeting, you don't even have to like it. You can just kind of, be a flower on the wall and just say, wow, look at all these people talking and sharing these amazing things too. So I think if it's the one thing, is surrounding yourself with super smart people. And there's all sorts of blog posts out there with like different Twitter lists of people to follow. One of my favorite lists is actually the Edutopia blogger list, because that's huge and amazing. And I know there's great superintendents you can follow lists and principals. So, just like if you're in a room, you want to surround yourself with the smartest people in the room so you can really learn from them. It's the same thing with all the networks.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally hear you on that. And I love how you said like-minded and different-minded. Like that is so important because, you definitely want to have several different viewpoints because whenever you float an idea out there, if it's just to like-minded people, then they'll be like, oh yeah, that's awesome. But people who might have a different perspective can help you see where to strengthen the idea. So I love that you said that.
Yeah, and I'm going to be honest, I feel like maybe it's different now in Voxer and some of the other evolving channels, but we don't have enough of that discourse in Twitter right now. We don't. And I just think we're all really busy. Now we're on channel overload, but there's very few actual comments being written on blogs, like it's just, I think the different minded is so important, but it's getting lost a little bit. So I've just been noticing that as a trend.
Yeah, definitely. I've heard other people say that as well. So yeah, that's definitely true. The channel overload, like you said, people seem to be, busy. And I know earlier you said that you use Twitter differently now than you did 8 years ago. So like how does that look? What does that look like?
When I first started, I was just obviously just probably like most people, I was just lurking. I was just listening and be like, I don't know what to do. Like, but then you start, liking, you start, okay, maybe I'm gonna say some things, but I'm not sure what I really want to say, but I'm gonna just throw it out there. But and then I started to kind of get even deeper and say, okay, now I'm gonna join some Twitter chats. And I got really aggressively into Twitter chats for a very long time. And now I'm just trying to figure out, what are all the different mediums that I can use, just even as a programmer too. And when I say programmer, it's just people that, put content out on Twitter as brands. But like, how are all the different ways I can play and tell a story on Twitter? And that's super cool, right? You've got video, you've got GIFs, you've got some live stuff going on with Periscope. What are all the different ways, and how can you be creative in being a storyteller on Twitter too? So I've kind of evolved to that, but then also being really cognizant about what do you want to say on Twitter? And I wasn't before, and honestly, I've just been so busy with school right now that I'm on a part-time MBA school. Look at my Twitter feed; it's a little bit haphazard, but I always tell people, like, what do you want to stand for, and what are you truly passionate about? And if I looked at your Twitter feed, would I be able to tell? So being really clear about what do you care about, and are you talking about the things that you truly care about? Because sometimes you can just get lost talking about, I don't know, maybe like a favorite TV show, and like that's all you use Twitter for. But this is online and people can look at it. So really just make sure that your stamp is there. And I think it takes, sometimes I do with clients is I just look at and I do a pie chart and say, okay, you really value the community. So maybe like 20% of your tweets should do just retweets about things you care about, like thought leadership, future ready, flipped classroom. What are the technology you're excited about? But just be really cognizant about the things that you want to be known for too. And that doesn't say you can't stray outside the box, but I think it gives you some guidelines because you're tweeting a lot. Are you tweeting about the things that matter and connecting with the people you want to? So that's kind of where I'm evolving into.
Oh, all right. I had a little issue with the mute button. Got it. But yeah, absolutely. So that is cool. I really like that, being mindful of what we put out there, and also amplifying other people who, who align with our passions and with our interests. Definitely. I think that that's also a part of branding, showing like who you're aligned with, or, what ideas resonate with you. Yeah.
Yeah, and we're only as powerful. Our voice is only as powerful as the community that elevates it, right? So it's so important to give back. And when I tell even people that create content out there in the space, I say there's no way you can create every single piece of content out there in the web, nor would you want to, because that's not a focused strategy. You want to elevate voices that are doing things that you could never do. So retweet, so work with them, collaborate, but always support them. And that's just, it's like a rule number. My top rule is like, you have to be a voice in the community and be a part of the community. And what do you stand for? Like, what are you truly passionate about? I don't care if you're an ed tech company with a product that costs lots of money or whatever, but like, what's your passion? And that's kind of where the core of, I think, of any kind of interaction in any, PLN is just like, show your passion. That'll evolve over time. A lot of people weren't into flipped classrooms and now they are, depending, but it's just really clear to follow your heart and get really excited and go down that path and find people that are excited about those issues.
Yeah, totally, totally. So connecting is that two-way street. So I love it. Okay, cool. So let's chat for a little bit about EdCamp. So you are a huge EdCamp supporter, and you've even helped to organize EdCamp Marin and EdCamp SF Bay. So if anyone out there does not know what an EdCamp is, could you tell us a little bit about what EdCamps are and why should educators pay attention?
Yeah, I mean, you could definitely do this, and maybe you've written 10 million blog posts on this too. But EdCamp started a long time ago. I believe the first one was EdCamp Philly, and taken from the bar camp idea. So in Silicon Valley, there was a lot of entrepreneurs that were very passionate about things, but didn't know how to connect with each other and wanted to do it informally and also very hands-on. So imagine like project-based learning, integrated studies, all these things kind of coming together, right? That we talk about in educator terms. So you basically get in a room with a bunch of smart people that are really excited about ideas of all shapes and sizes. And then it's an unconference because there's no set agenda. So it's, what do people want to talk about? They get some Post-its out, depending on the different types. EdCamps evolved into different kind of strategies, but generally you put an idea on Post-its, people kind of glob them together and say, okay, in room so-and-so, we're going to be talking about sketch noting, or what is the sketch noting? That sounds really weird, but I think that's the term. Or robotics, or drones, or whatever it may be, what people are excited about, and then you just go. And there is no presenting, which I love. It's learning from the wisdom of the crowd, and we learn so much, and we can actually do it and play with the tools. A lot of times we go to professional development, and like you have somebody who maybe wasn't even an educator talking down to you, and you don't even get to play with it or anything. And even at like great conferences like ISTE, like they tell you all these cool tools, but you don't have the time to play with it and work with each other and ask those questions in line. Like when I always have 10 million questions when they're talking, but it's not appropriate. And towards the end, it's like, they pick 3 people for questions. And so it's like, how do you actually get from being inspired to implementing? And I feel like not only do you get that, but everyone is so humble and sharing, and, it's great to be able to have that one time, but then you can also say, hey, I want to talk to you more, and you can work the entire day on that idea. So love ed camps, love what they represent, and I think they attract just the most inspirational educators I've ever met.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Ed camps are just amazing. I've learned so much from all of the ones I've attended as well. So if somebody out there wanted to organize an ed camp, let's say it was their first time, and they came to you asking you for advice, like how could I organize an ed camp? Then what would you say to them?
Um, you know, what was it, like 2 years ago, California had the California Teacher Summits, and basically EdCamp partnered with the New Teacher Foundation, or the New Teacher Center, and we put on these really big ed camps, and 99.9% of them, like it was like 300 to 500 people, had never been to ed camps before. So it was like, I will say it's like one of my claim to fames, because it's like, me and Katina Haugen, if she's out there, from Petaluma, an awesome principal, we led an ed camp with nobody knowing what to do. And, you know, a lot of people afterwards came up to us and said, how do I get this in my district? Is it licensing? Where do I pay? Like they were getting very official. And they said, do I need a certification? And I'm like, oh, that's a good idea. I don't know. Like, but I mean, it is as simple as one, I think I would start with going to edcamp.org. So that's the EdCamp Foundation. Hadley Ferguson, an awesome educator, runs it as the executive director. Lots of other cool people running it too. Go there, free resources. They even have this thing called EdCamp in a Box, which I think is awesome. You can fill it out 100% free, and they'll send you stuff to start your EdCamp. So Post-its. I don't know what's in it now, depending on the sponsors, but sometimes you can get some money for coffee. You can get some swag from different sponsors and advertisers, all for free. So, and then there's a bunch of videos on the website of how to do it. But again, it's kind of a lot of those characteristics I was talking about when you're learning about social media. It's just like, you're gonna make mistakes the first time. Surround yourself with maybe some veteran ed campers that can come, and people love ed camps. So I know people that travel around the country, ed camp veterans, to go, and the board members in particular do it. So, you know, reach out to people that you know that have done ed camps. They'll gladly come too. So surround yourself with smart people, reach out to the EdCamp Foundation, and then, you know, just laugh at yourself when you make mistakes. I mean, it's an ed camp, so it's all unconference-y anyways, so it doesn't matter as long as everyone's learning.
Yes, that is so true. And I love the organic, you know, the organic things. Those are totally my jam. So Ed Camp is definitely one of those things. So
And, and like once you go back to other conferences, you really you can't go back. You know, you're like, wow. That's why, you know, a lot of the times when ed campers and people that are used to unconferences, we go hang out in the lounges and we learn from each other. It's kind of like an Ignite, but less informal and less stressed, you know, but like you really do get to know what people are up to on a deeper level. And like I said, do that trial, like side by side. Do you mean that Flipgrid's like this? Oh, cool. Let me try one. Yeah. So really organic, really fun. I would reach out to anybody that you know. Everyone has them in their Twitter profile, so they say EdCamp Organizer. I can guarantee you, if you direct messaged anybody or just tweeted at them publicly, they would get back to you quickly. Like, we're all really passionate about it.
Yeah, totally. Totally. Ed camps are a way of life. I like to think of them that way. And kind of like how you alluded to, it's kind of like it's kind of like social media face to face, you know, it kind of has that vibe a little bit, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a fun thing too, is that ed camps, and I know we've been to a lot of them, where we're tweeting away. We have our own hashtag. We're trying to share out our learnings, right? And then we're getting people from a lot of ed camp veterans from around the country jumping in, and sometimes from outside of the country coming in and contributing to the back channels of each discussion. So, I mean, I don't remember, gosh, I'm going to misquote this, but somebody said you're being selfish when you're not tweeting. You know, like you need to be sharing out these learnings. And I don't care if you don't need to create a brand for yourself or whatever it is, but like really there's a lot of people that don't have the access to the ed camps, to even if you're at an amazing TED Talk or whatever, always just make sure who else would benefit. I mean, the world would. I mean, it's selfish not to share out. And with ed camps, you do that and you affect so many more people, the ripple.
Yeah, that ripple is real. So definitely. And I love how the hashtag can open it up, like you said, to people who are not physically in attendance. So absolutely. All right, cool. So let's shift gears for a second and let's talk a little bit about what you're up to lately. So you told us a little bit about your MBA program. And in your program, then you are working on a company around helping refugees resettle to new countries through technology. So could you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, sure. So I'm going to Cal Berkeley on the West Coast, and we have an executive MBA program. So it's meant to be with like working professionals, the people that have like, you know, decades of experience, which is really good because they can bring that real world aspect to some big challenges in the world. And what I love about Cal is that, you know, it's full of very smart people, but we all just want to want to rekindle or want to build upon our passion. You know, so some people are like, shoot, I need to change industries because my passion's not there. Or some people are like, I'm really passionate about this, but I need to dive in deeper. So I was around a bunch of very smart people and still am. And we formed a team and we went into, so the, not the Bill and Melinda Gates, of the Clinton Foundation. Yes, another one. The Clinton Foundation put on a competition, and the biggest challenge they wanted to solve was the world refugee crisis. And we said, let's do this. And again, I think it's a plug of like, I wasn't prepared. I got into a team probably 2 days before the competition. Right the night before, I had the email drafted about me backing out because I just didn't feel comfortable getting up there on a stage with like startup judges asking us all these intense questions. We didn't even have the time to do the proper research, right? But I jumped in. And I will never regret it because we ended up winning that competition. And that win of the UC Berkeley competition, we went to regionals and we got to meet entrepreneurs from the entire Western Hemisphere. So all of these amazing Latin American entrepreneurs and like all really innovative solutions to a very challenging and horrible crisis. So you just get to be surrounded by so many different passionate entrepreneurs. Our idea in particular, and we're building it out this quarter and next quarter, and quarter is kind of in the education term. So basically this year we're building it out and we're piloting it with a refugee placement agency in Sacramento. So a little bit north of where a lot of us are in San Francisco. But it's a in a weird way parallel with educators, because I feel like educators feel so alone at times and they have such challenging situations. And if you don't have that support network, you are all alone. Sometimes you need answers right away. So imagine, you're fleeing from the most traumatic situations you can't even imagine. And you are placed into a country. And you're placed in a country with the goal in 90 days, you will be fully immersed and fully integrated into society. And that it's just, we don't give these people a proper or a fair handshake just to get in. They need the tools and we have the technology to help them. It's just, it hasn't quite been thought through. So we saw this need and we said there's a good amount of refugees being resettled into host countries, but they don't have the resources they need and they are so alone and they're so scared. And I talked to them 20 years later and they are still not integrated into society. Like, that's just shame on us, So we heard all these heartbreaking stories. We interviewed people for many, many quarters after we won the competition, and we developed a intelligent chatbot on the Messenger platform. So they can download it. And, people have all sorts of stereotypes of refugees, but maybe one of them is that they're not tech savvy. They're the most tech savvy people that you will ever meet. And they taught me a lot. Like, I didn't even know what Viber was until I started talking to them. So they use Viber and Line and Facebook Messenger and WhatsApp. But, all of these applications they use to keep in contact with their families at all times. And they all have smartphones. So what if we could create an intelligent chatbot to help them 24/7, almost like a virtual caseworker, to, help them with their most pressing questions in real time, but then also proactively help them with the milestones they need to achieve. I need to get an education. And that's another myth about refugees. And I can go on for a lot, so I will stop. But people think that a lot of refugees are not educated, and that's not true. The average Syrian is very, very well educated. The problem is that it's the recertification problem to get them into their professions that they are certified for. I mean, there's probably a majority of them are civil engineers. Like, we have this talent coming in. We're not leveraging them appropriately. So that's the basis of the idea. It's really exciting because every time I intentionally get cab drivers now, or sometimes Uber. And when I was in San Antonio at ISTE, I was just talking to them about it. And majority of them, so that's another thing too, is when you get into a cab or an Uber, just talk to the driver. They will tell you some things about their background, as long as you're not creepy about it, like, just don't interrogate them, but they will let you know that a lot of them have been refugees. And I mean, the after we launch it will be better moments, but one of my shining moments was when I had two people when I got out at ISTE and they said, no, can I download it right now? I need it right now. And that was just like, wow, no, it's coming. It's coming. And it was so cool to see that and to know that there's a need. And then on the other side, working with the volunteer agencies, these are very selfless human beings. So basically the volunteer agencies they are 100% in charge of placing refugees into certain communities, but they have really low resources. They have all sorts of challenges with them. So they need a lot of help too. So this device would work with them as well to keep them updated on their cases, their specific cases, and how they progress. So they can help and not have to deal with a lot of the reactionary stuff. So really excited about it. It's just another thing to really try to help those that are so in disadvantaged situations. And it just breaks my heart that, there's such inequalities and there's so much bad things happening in the world that maybe we could just make a difference,
Yeah, totally. And there's a lot of love coming through in the comments on the YouTube live. A lot of people are echoing what you're saying. I just dropped your Twitter handle in there, so there might be some people who reach out to you.
Yeah, and
So
if anybody has any contacts, we're 100% open to any help. Right now, we're just in development phase, and like I said, and that's another thing too, is like when we talk about teaching our students, gotta just like jump into it sometimes, especially in maker education. Like we're literally just building the minimal viable product, as we kind of say in business terms, MVP, but we're just building something we know it's broken, and we know it's the bare minimum to get somebody to play with it. And then we can get feedback on it. So like, don't let perfect be the enemy of good, and make sure that, you get that user input as much as possible. And, we all have students that, created a project for something, and then did you even talk to the people? And that's what a lot of design thinking's around too, but really making sure it's hitting the need and the user is owning the direction.
absolutely, that is so true. And while you were talking about that with the minimum viable product, and I was kind of thinking about some conversations that we've had in the EduMatch Voxer group, about like not waiting till something is perfect, to try it out or to launch it or to get it out there. But so the same thing can be said in the educational space as well. I know you and I were talking before we went live about EduMatch and how it just kind of built, the story of EduMatch, how it just built from like tweeting out using a hashtag into a community. So definitely just, getting that momentum out there. So I also love the quote that you said, that perfect is an enemy of good. What was that again?
Yeah, don't let perfect be the enemy of just good or good enough.
Right.
And you definitely learn that in business school too, because it's just, I give you so many assignments and you're like, yep, this is good enough,
Yeah.
this is good enough for everything we got going on, and I'll learn a lot from it and go from there. But
Absolutely.
it's we all have way too much going on in our lives, but the most important thing is getting it out there in the real world and making, just making what we do applicable to the real world as much as possible. And I know that's what, a lot of amazing educators do, with like bringing in real world audiences, whether it be through social media or actually in the classroom, project-based learning with projects that actually benefit the society and businesses. There's so many cool applications.
Yeah, that is so true. So true. So how can people get in touch with you online?
I'm at Twitter at Elana Leoni. It's kind of a weird name. I think people just smush it together and they call me Leona, but it's not that. It's I think you can put it up in the back channel, but it's ELANA LEONI. It's 10 characters, pretty short. I'm on Voxer too, same handle. I'm on Facebook, same handle, except there's D in the middle for my middle name, like D as in dog. And I don't know, I'm sure there's other ones, Pinterest, Face or Instagram, all the same handle. So yeah, that's where I'm at. And please reach out. Love talking to teachers. And I didn't mention this, but I have been on a parallel path working with some amazing ed tech organizations. I started my own consultancy, and a lot of the times I'm looking for new voices in education too. So whether it be blogging or helping out with social media. So I'm always interested in different people that are passionate about certain subjects. So for example, I'm working with a ed tech video company right now, and I'm like, wow, I've never dove so deep into how video can be used for professional development. And you just learn so much because there's a whole nother PLN there, But again, I didn't know a ton of people in it. So I've been relying on my PLN to introduce me to other people that are in that PLN. So always looking for people that are just interested in different things and looking for writers at times. So reach out, say hello.
Awesome, awesome. Well, definitely appreciated having you on here. So thank you so much for chatting with us tonight. Learned a lot, and I mean the conversations in the back channel were just amazing as a result of some of the things that you were saying. So thank you for sharing your insight, and thanks to everybody who was watching and tweeting and YouTube living. So this was great. So we're gonna put this out as an iTunes or Stitcher or Google Play podcast within the upcoming weeks. And yeah, also shout out to Ed Camp EduMatch. Speaking of Ed Camps, as we did tonight, coming up August 5th. So check that out at edcampedumatch.org. So wanted to thank you once again, Elana. That was amazing. So
No, and thank you. I mean, you're so humble behind this, but you've been one of the main voices, one of the main proponents of a connected educator. And I mean, the coolest thing about my job and, you know, where I've been able to go is just see people like you grow, you know, and myself grow, but we're growing in tandem. And like when I saw you at ISTE, I was like, I was so proud of you. So.
Thank you so much. That means so much coming from you. So I really do appreciate that. So all right, we're gonna go
Take
ahead and
care.
so you two gonna sign off for tonight. So good night to all of the viewers. Bye guys.